Hello, it's Haley and Josie.
Dziga Vertov
Was born in Poland in 1896. He was a documentary filmmaker who was active during the 1920s and up until the 1940s. At 22, he began as an editor for the Moscow Cinema Committee's weekly film series. In 1922, Nanook of the North by Robert Flannery was released, which is largely considered the first ever documentary. Dziga Vertov did not believe in this type of documentary because a lot of the film was staged and he wanted them more natural. Later that same year, he started working on a series called Kino Prava, which translates to Film Truth, which consisted of newsreels of reality, sometimes using hidden cameras to capture actuality, and left the interpreting up to the audience. He ended up making 23 of those, and it mostly consisted of everyday activities like people walking or drinking in a bar. The film he's most known for is Man with the Movie Camera, which was released in 1929. Like Kino Prava, the film was non-staged fragments of everyday life around Moscow and Ukraine. His brother
Michael Kaufman.
was the cameraman, and his wife
Елизавета Свилова.
was the editor. The opening words of Man with a Movie Camera are, "Attention viewers, this film is an experiment in cinematic communication of real events without the help of intertitles, without the help of story, without the help of theater." The theme of Man with a Movie Camera is probably the relationship between man and machine, since it's what he named his own bibliography. This makes sense since there are a lot of shots of Vertov and his brother with the camera. The editing techniques combine human and machinery with overlapping shots. For example, they overlap an eye over top of a camera lens, and there are many shots of machineries with a worker operating them with it as well. It's hard to believe there's only one theme for the film because it has many different types of scenery. He is also known for his juxtapositions in film, like shots of marriage and divorce. Some of the shots seem random, like sports or women getting ready for a day. Though all the shots are wide variety, Vertov accomplished multiple perspectives because everyone will interpret the shots differently, which is very different from the documentaries made during that time.
One way Vertov likes to be transparent in his films is by showing him and his brother filming and his wife editing the documentary in the film itself, and towards the end there is a movie theater where people watch the film.
Cinéma Vérité
is a style of documentary created by Edgar Morin and Jean Rauch that was heavily inspired by Vertov. The style was popular in the 60s and 70s, and it creates transparency by showing the filmmakers and any influence they have over the mostly observational film. And the point of this was to try and be as realistic as possible. It is very common in this type of film for minimal editing and not very stylistic look to not influence people's opinions. Despite Cinema Verite not using much stylized editing, Man with a Movie Camera did have some advanced editing for its time to convey different messages, while still leaving it up to the audience to interpret. For example, there's a scene where they take two sides of a film and they turn it up towards each other, making the buildings look as like they were bending in on themselves. In Inception from 2010, the movie plays homage to this scene by having the city bend in on itself.
Space would be all about the visual, but it's more about the feel of it. My question is, what happens when you start messing with the physics of it all?
Then in another scene, Vertov and his camera look like they are towering over a crowd of people. Some films that are inspired by Vertov are Chronicle of a Summer from 1960, This film plays itself at the end for all the people featured in the film to have a discussion about their opinions on it. The filmmakers are also featured. There's also a different movie called A Man Who Has a Camera from 1933, which directly plays homage to the original. This type of documentary style is also apparent in Grey Gardens from 1975, The Act of Killing from 2012, and Citizen 4 from 2014.